We're back. Welcome to the Chronicles, with us the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
My name's Nick.
And this week, are new players needed, or do we just need a new style of play? Was Spurs the sign of a miserable season to come, or simply the start of something special? United chat coming up next. Here we go then. United chat. Let's kick it off with the new season. Welcome back, Nick.
Yeah, hello. How are we?
I'm good. Are you?
I like
okay?
the intro.
That's very good. Epic intro. We're back in the studio. That means Nick's back and Joe is also back.
Yeah, treating you to some new music as well.
Superb. What a way to come back to the new season. And what a way to kick off the show. Spurs at the weekend then, of course, 1-0. The first game of the season. First win under the belt. But were we underwhelmed by the performance? Nick, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of United fans were saying this on Twitter. It was just the same as last season, wasn't it? There wasn't much happening, really. We didn't create many chances. Spurs, for the first 20-30 minutes, looked on top. They looked very lively, especially up front. Memphis, he's shown flashes of what's to come. But obviously the standout performer of the day, in a lot of people's eyes, my eyes included, was Darmian. Thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. I thought the performance on the whole, as you say, it was reminiscent in parts of last season. Spurs certainly looked the fresher team despite playing 2 games during the week. Of course, in the Aldi
Might have had
Cup.
a bearing on it, personally.
Could have. They started really fresh, really well, so that could have helped them. But I thought we were slow again. I thought we were lethargic in parts. Like you say, the minimal chances created, yet again, United's problem. Joe, I know you're at the game, and I can see your look of horror. Maybe you saw it differently live. Maybe you had the red-tinted spectacles on at the game. How did you see it?
I think maybe that half true. I probably had my red glasses on, but no. I thought it was a more structured approach. I don't think it was exactly the same as last year. Yeah, there was some aspects that when you've still got the players in the squad. I mean, a lot of them from last year. There's going to be a bit of dust to sweep off, but I actually enjoyed some of the performance from United. I think it was quite exciting. At some of it, I think the chances maybe not have been created, but some of the lead up to what could have been a chance is a bit more promising than what we've seen last season. I mean, you mentioned Memphis. We had flashes of it. I thought he had an on and off game. He looked half interested. He looked like some of the balls he was absolutely going for it. Some of them he was kind of a bit less bothered about it. But again, I think that we've seen some good, strong performances from people like Smalling, people like Darmian, and I think there's more to come.
I think Schneiderlin enforced his place in the spot in midfield. I think it's going to be a battle now between Schweinsteiger and Carrick for that position. I don't think anyone's going to get ahead of Schneiderlin. Obviously, he didn't do anything amazing, but he didn't do anything bad. It was pretty solid in general, I thought.
I think solid was the word.
Yeah.
It wasn't standout, but it was his opening game.
For the first game, I thought it was very good.
Seems to fall apart without Carrick, though. I think we introduced another new face to it, and it seemed to kind of the structure left us.
I was impressed with Schweinsteiger when he came on. I noticed that he was bossing people about. He was telling people what to do, telling people how to pass, and we have missed that for years. We've not had a proper leader since Vidic left, really.
It was a bit hit and miss, and I think that's down to getting his fitness back again, and that's why I put it out there to people. I think Carrick and Schweinsteiger share that role, in my opinion, early days in the season. But whilst we're going on about players that did impress, it's been mentioned very briefly, Smalling and Darmian at the back in particular.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about Smalling first because I thought he was probably the best player on the pitch, and he did get the man of the match, of course. How much he's turned his career around, it was an absolutely stunning performance from Smalling, and he now has to be the rock that we build the defensive line around, surely.
We talked about this a few months ago, Andy. I think he is the future captain, personally. That's my opinion. And I think you need to build the defence around him at the moment. I don't think Jones has progressed the way I would have liked it. If you look at Jones and McNair, for example, is there much between them?
Not a great deal, no.
And that's quite worrying, considering McNair's, I think, 4, maybe 5 years younger than Jones. So I'd be quite happy to even get rid of Jones at this point. I don't think he's progressed very well. He's constantly injured. He has rash moments in games. He'll have the odd good game, don't get me wrong.
The player's still only about 24, so it's not as if he's old. He's still got.
He's not progressing though. This is the thing. He's not. Every season's the same Jones. He's not a season like Smalling. The last 18 months has stepped up
It's
I
sort
think
of like
there
what we
was
saw with Raphael, I think.
There was one moment in the game Smalling looked like the old Smalling where he ended up putting out for a corner, I think, and everyone was a bit worried.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah,
but you mentioned Raphael. I mean, his development was odd.
It was stunted.
Similar to what you see of Jones now, and I wonder how much of that is down to the coaching and how much is down to the player. We're going to move on to talk about that in just a moment, but I do want to talk a little bit more in detail about the players before we move on to LVG. Darmian, of course, on debut, looked like something for me that United have been missing for a long time, a proper right-back.
His positioning was quality.
Defensively very sound, and he was
never
bombing
got
up and down
caught
the pitch
out,
all game.
Yeah, shoving people like Harry Kane wide, who we've seen last year, can get into places. I mean, he's not small exactly, and he still gets into them spaces. So to see Darmian pushing him wide was
just
a
off
nice
topic
change.
though. We're crying out for a world-class striker. That was evident again against Spurs.
I don't think Rooney was that bad. I think he was the most committed player on the pitch. Personally, I
stand by what I said a few months ago. Yeah, I don't think we'll win the league with him up front.
How much of it was down to Rooney though? Because as Joe say, he was committed.
It's lack
there
of
was a lot
service.
of running.
Don't get me wrong.
How much is down to
the
that?
great strikers that we've had in the past, like the Van Nistelrooys of this world? You know, they deal with that. They still create something out of nothing, and I don't think Rooney's got it in the tank anymore.
How many players out there in world football are able to do that are available?
Exactly.
That's
the only one that I
where
can
the issue
potentially
I'd
think
have
of
liked
is Bale.
I
He doesn't want to
think
come.
letting Van Persie go is an absolute dreadful decision.
Yeah, stupid.
I mean,
I still think that was a poor decision.
You look at Van Persie, you put him on top of that. What we've got at the moment, if you put Depay where he actually should be playing, and then Rooney behind Van Persie.
Well, 32-year-old Van Persie is still better than Hernandez, in my opinion. But
yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. So let's talk about this, because Joe's just made a point about Memphis being out of position and he should be played on the
left wing. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. And Van Gaal has seemingly gone a little bit. It's a 4-4-2 and a 4-2-3-1, depending on where Memphis is in the game and where we are up the pitch. But it seems to me that after all that want that I had, as everyone's fully aware, of wanting the 4-2-3-1 to come into play, having now seen it,
it's not
Van
working.
Gaal has ruined it already.
Yeah. Do you ever get the sense he's playing Memphis in the number 10 role because he doesn't want to drop Young?
I think people are expecting too much of Memphis. I think there was a lot of people out there comparing him to people like Ronaldo. I mean, it's funny enough, Ronaldo's debut was 12 years ago yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, he was played on the left, he was played on the right. So a quality player like that, you can play anywhere. And because he can't adapt to that straight away, I think people are putting a lot of pressure on a young player straight away off the bat.
Completely agree with that. But do you not think, Joe, that Memphis should be played out on the left?
I think it'd be interesting to see him
Mata
over
should
there.
be played in a number 10 role.
I think it was all if we could shift everyone left and put Young on the bench, then that'd be a better choice.
I think that's the crux of the issue. That's what I'm getting at. Ashley Young, as brilliant as he was last season,
don't get us wrong.
and
He's a great
the
squad
contract.
player to have.
Deserved the contract, absolutely. He's a very good squad player.
Young
to
had
have.
nobody to hit though. He was missing Fellaini. When Fellaini missed him from the bench, so it just shows you without a tall player to hit, Young's crossing became a bit ineffective.
It was poor. There were no successful crosses from Young.
If you think about it logically, we're heavily linked with Pedro over the last couple of weeks. It's looking like it might happen. Obviously, again, we are recording on Thursday nights. But if we were to sign Pedro and we moved Memphis to the left-hand side, we got Mata behind Rooney and we had Pedro on the right-hand side, do you not think that's a lot more clinical than what we've currently got?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to play that three of... if you could get it, Pedro, Mata and Memphis in behind Rooney excites me a lot more than what we have got.
If Rooney can't score 20 goals with M3 behind him, there's issues.
There are. And also, the thing is, you could still sign a striker on that, and you could switch Mata and Rooney in that position in behind the striker if Rooney's not going to score the goals for you.
Yeah, we need a striker. I've said it. It's more important than centre-back, in my opinion.
So is the way that Van Gaal is setting us up, Joe, a hindrance to United's progress going forward?
Well, I mean, I think he played the squad that he thought was the best and that he could rotate the most. I think that there was positions that he chose on the pitch to kind of work the new signings into, just to see how they all adapted to each other. So I think it was more of a game of learning for the new signings, and a new start to a different season where we could see who plays well where and what we can do to adapt it. Because let's be honest, Memphis did have a few runs on the left, he had a few runs on the right. It wasn't set as that structure. It was different. It was kind of messed about with a lot. Mata came in, Memphis went out. It was an odd way to look at it, but I mean, I think it was a bit of a learning curve.
Quick question for you, Andy.
Yeah, go on.
Before I can.
Yeah.
You think Van Gaal has the same problem that Fergie does? His ego takes over sometimes and he tries to be too clever.
I think that can be a problem with Van Gaal, and it's understandable after the success he's had to have self-belief. But I just think we're seeing a different side to Van Gaal now. I mentioned this to you a couple of days ago. I think with him coming to the end of his career, the short-term success and the sort of legacy that he wants to leave behind of that success is almost taking over.
Quick fix, isn't it? It's a quick fix.
It
I get a
seems
sense
like
of
that way. It doesn't seem like the Van Gaal of old. We're still playing the youngsters, but they're not getting as much of an opportunity as perhaps I think they would if we'd have got Van Gaal 10 years ago, say. I think there'd have been a lot more experimentation with the squad.
Yeah, but do you think he's trying to be clever by doing what he did on Saturday? Or do you think it was just a structured approach to try and...
It was very structured, and you know, don't get me wrong, it worked.
He played it safe, and we got the 3 points.
And the 3 points, in my opinion, were more important than the performance for the opening weekend. Yeah. It was a tough game. Everyone knew it was going to be difficult against Spurs, and I thought, you know, to get the 3 points from that, credit to Van Gaal, he did that. It was a very well structured approach. On the whole, you know, Spurs for 10-15 minutes first half, maybe 10-15 minutes towards the end threatened, but in between they were largely neutralised. Harry Kane again neutralised at Old Trafford by United, and that was down to the rigid way in which Van Gaal set up. I just wonder if that starves us in terms of creativity going forward, no matter who you have.
Well, I mentioned this a couple of months back about Rooney, saying when he lost the ball, the Rooney of old would have chased it halfway down the pitch. He would have gone into our penalty area to win it back if he had to. The Rooney now, if you look at him, when he loses the ball, he'll rely on other players to win it back before he commits to going deep.
I don't think that's totally true. I think that he did do that on a few occasions. I can't see Rooney just... I mean, once a player's a player, he's not going to change that much. Yeah, he's probably lost a bit of fitness, and probably first game of the season, he's not going to be chasing everything, but I think he chased a lot more than the other players on the pitch. I think he was one of the most committed players out there. And
if he wants to be our out-and-out striker, he needs to be at the other end of the pitch. So,
well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So people are moaning either way, whatever he does. So.
Exactly.
He should have took the chance first time, though, in my opinion. But it is the first game. I think
a Rooney of 5-6 weeks later probably would have done.
First time, yeah.
But, you know, we got the goal, it went in, it was scruffy, it was probably undeserved at the time, but we got it. And that's the important thing. That's the way the old Manchester United used to play. If we think going back to Fergie era, you know, how many times did United scrape those sort of tough 1-0 gritty victories? We played a better style of football, arguably, but the results still remain the same. We're getting the results again.
Well, I don't think that we had a bad game defensively. Like you say, Tottenham didn't challenge us at all. I didn't see any Tottenham chance other than the Eriksen through. Well,
yeah, that's the first.
That was the only one that kind of troubled us, and we everyone sighed and thought, oh no, not again. We're not starting this straight away. But once that went in, the chances stopped happening like that. So
with us focusing on the back, because there were a couple of other half opportunities. Let's talk about the new signing in goal briefly, Romero.
I was impressed with him personally.
Decent game
to a free player that's that good for just he fills a role.
We need to break it down for what it is. He can't speak English. He's been at the club a matter of weeks. He wasn't expecting to play that game. He was expecting to come in and maybe as cover on the bench or even in the reserves at that point. He was thrown in due to obviously the De Gea situation, and to perform like that in a different league when you can't even speak English, you got to give it to him.
I think it was a bit of a surprise to see him on the team sheet. I mean, I made a joke that
I was shocked.
Number 7 was the first number in our team, which was, I mean, it's an odd number. There's no number 2, no number 1s, no number 3. There's nobody there who were in them roles anymore. But Romero, I mean, Sam Johnstone obviously played the pre-season games, and then to see Romero's name pop up out on the day, it was very odd.
I was surprised. I did just solely based on the language barrier, because if you look at our back four, I think Darmian can speak broken English. Obviously, Smalling
very broken.
Yeah, Smalling is sure English, and then we had obviously Thingy in there as well.
Daley Blind.
Yeah, who's.
Well, let's move on to Blind, because I think we've covered Romero enough. He made a couple of decent saves. It wasn't phenomenal, but like you say, he filled in the gap and he could do a job for us.
They were clearly trying
I was impressed with his catching more than anything.
But then he did treat the ball as though it was like a hot coal. It was straight out of the hands again, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think they were trying to play out from the back, United. I don't think there was any... I mean, you watched in the training before the game, everything was short balls. There was no long ball passes. It was just everything was a short distribution. So I think we were trying to kind of... Again, that structured approach that I think we were just going for.
And is this why Daley Blind then has been brought in? Because we have to tackle this issue.
Well, yeah, so we can pass it back to Romero.
A ball-playing centre-back, that's what Van Gaal wants, isn't
it?
That's why Blind's playing in there. That's why he doesn't necessarily want to see Jones in there at the moment.
No, I think we could all agree that Blind probably has the football intelligence to play that role.
He's not got the body for it.
Himself.
He hasn't got the body or the talent for it,
has he?
About
5'9", so... he's not the biggest. And I heard that when I was watching the highlights of the game that one of the commentators compared him to Mascherano of Barcelona.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
I just think that's a little stupid at that point.
It's an unbelievable comparison.
Yeah.
I can't see Blin sticking it out in that role, but the concern is it seems like Van Gaal is fixed on having a left-footed centre back.
We've got one potentially in Rocco, but does he see Rocco as long term? I personally think I'd give Smalling and Rocco a fair shot for a long term, like 10-game run, see how they do.
The problem you've got with Rojo, of course, is coming back from the break that he's had. He doesn't look fit at all.
He looks like he's put a bit of timber on.
He does.
I mean, he's always been a big lad, to be fair to him. So, I mean, a bit of strength at the back never hurt anyone, did it? So.
Well, a bit of strength, but
about
£10. Might struggle to run, catch them up if they go past him.
He's had a few kebabs, Andy, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I think he did during the break. Absolutely. Well, I mean, please let us know any of the thoughts that we've had there. If you agree, if you disagree, please let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Is Daley Blind United's future centre back? Is Memphis being played out of position? Are Louis van Gaal's tactics going to prove a hindrance to United? Please let us know. We're at We Follow United on Twitter. And next up, we have got some of your opinions around some of the big debates on United that we had this week earlier on the Fan Takeover. So this week on Twitter, as we always do, we find out some of the big debates following on from the Spurs game and ask you to get involved with your opinions. Now, we're going to start this week's Fan Takeover with the fan phone-in, which we've really enjoyed doing. The guests we've had on so far have been absolutely brilliant. We've got another guest. We're absolutely delighted to be joined on the phone tonight by Jogi, who was one of the fans who wanted to get involved in tonight's topics. Jogi, good evening.
Good evening to you.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent. Now, Jogi, let's get stuck into this then. Some of the debates we had on the Fan Takeover this week. We started with a bit of a review of the Spurs game. Sum it up for us. How did you see it?
I thought it was better than last year. It's a move in the step right direction. I think up top, we're still not quite fluent enough with Mata on the right and Depay at the number 10 position. But I think as the season progresses, and hopefully we'll start seeing Depay onto the left, and if once Pedro comes in onto the right, and if we can get Mata into the number 10, I think we'll be pretty good going forward. My biggest concern is actually Wayne Rooney. I don't actually think he can get 20 goals a season. Even on Saturday, he did look pretty flat to me, and in pre-season, he's not really looked like he's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and really lead the front line.
I totally agree with you there, Joggy. My name's Nick. I'm on the other half of the show.
Are you paying this one, Nick?
Yeah, you've basically just said everything I've just been talking about the last 15 minutes about obviously Rooney not being up to scratch. I don't think he's been the same for the last 5 or 6 years. I think 12 goals last season was pathetic.
Yeah, it was abysmal, yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a world-class striker. We're missing an Aguero or an Acosta in there.
The biggest problem I feel is obviously what's on the market at the same time, which we can bring in. With him being captain, it's a bit of a difficult situation in dropping him. And in the past, we've seen whenever he's been dropped, it starts getting into quite an awkward situation where either he's trying to leave or he's trying to get a new contract. I think we're going to have to just go with what we've got up front. Hopefully he gets the service, and the midfield, like last year, did contribute a lot of goals. And hopefully with the addition of Pedro and Depay, we can make up for his loss of goals. But I do agree in the long term, we do need a striker that can finish out of 2 chances, take the 1 chance. And there's not many of them around. Even Benzema, and Cavani, I don't think are in that bracket. You've got your Agueros, Costas, who are in that kind of bracket, and obviously Suarez. There is not many strikers around unless we take a chance with somebody from France or somebody from the lower leagues, and hopefully they come through. But at the moment, we're going to have to stick with him, and hopefully the midfield makes up the goals. The key for it is to get Mata into the right position. He can make goals happen, and he can score goals. Even at Chelsea, he was slow at Chelsea, but the team around him was very flowing forward, and he does score goals. He got 10 last year, and he was out of position. So
completely agree.
We completely agree, mate. You're echoing what we were saying. Again, we don't think Rooney's good enough. We said before early on the show that Mata should play behind any striker we had, and Pedro on the right, Depay on the left. That'd make up for any loss of goals that we wouldn't create.
The biggest problem we've got as fans is that Ashley Young is in good form. And once you're in good form with LVG, if you look at his career from Ajax all the way through to now, drop you. And the thing about Young is he does what LVG wants him to do. He tracks back. He tactically plays what he wants him to do. He cuts in and he works the wide very well. Until Young doesn't lose form, we're going to have to stick with the situation we're in. Even tomorrow, it's going to be the same formation. But at the same time, we've got Schneiderlin, we've got Schweinsteiger. That will add steel to the back and will make us a bit more solid.
What's your opinion on Kane, mate? Do you think he could be possibly a long-term replacement for Rooney?
Kane's one season. I'm not too sure on Kane, to be honest.
It's a big risk. It is a big risk.
Yeah, it is a big risk at the money we're talking. If it was 2025, then yeah, I would have. If we were going to go for that kind of second bracket of striker, I would have even Benteke would have been a good option, because remember, if you look at it from Ed Woodward's point of view, when he's trying to negotiate a deal, he's basically saying to the striker, your second option. So Cavani, Benzema, even Kane, it's going to be difficult to get away.
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely on that. And Kane, for me, in the big games, fades away.
Yeah, I think one thing a lot of people have touched on is, I think once everybody's fit and everybody's on form, I think if Rooney does get injured, we could play with a fake number 9 as well, which he has done at Barcelona, because once Pedro comes in, Pedro can play as a fake number 9 as well, which could add a different dimension to us going forward. But until Young's in form, we're going to stick to what we have.
Let me ask you this, Jogi, with regards to the style of play at United, there's a couple of points that I've been raising on this, and my concern is that with Van Gaal, as we were sort of talking about there, you made the point about it being rigid, which is brilliant when you're talking defensively, but when we're going forward, I think no matter who you have, even if you bring in the likes of Pedro, Memphis with his pace, I think you're still wasting those players with the leash that Van Gaal puts on them, because he plays such a rigid system. So what I wanted to ask you, Jogi, with regards to LVG's current, I'll say it, philosophy, do you think it's a case of a stubborn manager teaching a different philosophy to a stubborn club, and we're not adopting to that?
Yeah, I do agree with what you're saying. I think we've been used to for so long just end-to-end football. Even yesterday I was watching on MUTV a game from 2011, and it was just against Chelsea at Old Trafford. I think we won 3-2. It was just going end-to-end, and I think he's always played a high possession game. If you look at, if people that don't know his style look at somebody like Guardiola, it is very similar. They want to press high, they want to hold a high line, and they want to be in the opposition half just holding on to possession. But the thing, what he's having the biggest difficulty in the Premiership is when he's holding a high line and he's pressing the opposition team further back, is trying to break the other team down. And last year we had Di Maria, who was supposed to be the spark, and it wasn't. And I think this year Pedro will work better, but I do agree with what you're saying, that he has a rigid style, but we're going to have to get used to it, because he's not going anywhere and he's not going to change his ways, and that's it. That system has worked for him.
I think what he's trying to do, Joggy, he's trying to play a European-type football in a Premier League match. And I think the quality of the Premier League is really being highlighted, because if you played this in the Spanish League or the German League, for example, the poorer teams won't be able to deal with it, the high-pressing game. But in the Premier League, the teams such as the Leicesters or the Watfords of this world, they are better teams, even though they're only promoted.
I 100% agree. That's why I think if you look at Barcelona and the Guardiola, and even now with Blind, they want to play a ball-sending centre-back or a defensive midfield that brings the ball out. He has very quickly figured out, I think 4 months into the season, when he quickly realised it was a very physical league, and that's when he started to see a lot of Fellaini being played. He's bought very well in Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger. I think that's a very good move. It gives us a lot more physicality. But like you said, it's a different kind of league. It's very end-to-end. But I think we've got to just stick with it. Hopefully he'll come through, and hopefully he moves to an orthodox 4-3-3, which will help the team flow a lot better with actual two wingers rather than Mata on one side of the pitch.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I think you highlighted there, we need to stick by it at the moment. Like I saw recently on Twitter, there's starting to be a lot of negativity towards LVG, and it's the first game into a new season. We need to give him a chance. He's always maintained that in his first 2-3 seasons with a club, it's never his best. He always has to settle in. He has to get the players settled, and he has to get the squad that he wants.
Also, if you look at it, we as fans have to look at maybe 2 years ago when Moyes was in charge, and we lacked a coach that really could make a decision and was scared to drop players. We've got a coach in that makes big decisions and plays on form, like Young. We have to stick with him. At the end of the year, is the best way to assess it. At the end of the season, see where it's going, and then we can say, is he right for us, is he not? He won't have any excuses, because the club have given him maximum resources required, changing the staff from the training facilities to cutting the tour down in the US. Whatever he's wanted, he's gotten. But at the end of the season will be best time to see what's happening, where he stands. Is he the right person going forward? Also, I think it's too far in. It's one game. You know, it's a bit too far to jump onto him saying, oh, this is crap or this is no good. All the top teams didn't look very good except for Man City. So it's a long way to go, and I genuinely do believe he will come good.
I think you're right, Joggy. I mean, some great points made. The only thing that I'm going to question you on here that I'd like to hear your opinion on is I think we all know in the back of our minds, and maybe this is translating onto the pitch, I think Man United as a club and us as fans know that it is coming towards the end of LVG's career. You are only looking at perhaps another 2, maybe 3 seasons at a push, if that. So I just wonder, firstly, whether or not he's going to have time to, sort of breed in his style of play to the club and keep it there. And also if he'll get the time, because, of course, you've mentioned a couple of times there about Pep Guardiola throughout the conversation we've had here. I'm just wondering, if Pep became available next year, what would your opinion be on that? Would you throw everything at getting Pep in to replace LVG?
Even if we won something?
If we won, let's say the FA Cup and we improved on last season's league position and we did well in the Champions League, I would stick with him. But if we were bad in the league and the style of play did not improve and Guardiola does become available, I think we should take him. I think one key point to kind of notice here is when Ferguson retired and Moyes came in, it was a big transition for Moyes as well. He didn't understand the players, and a lot of the players were made to look even better than what they were under Ferguson. And we're seeing that kind of process filter through now, where more or less everybody's gone except for bar 1 or 2. If we did make a managerial change in a year's time, we won't see much. It won't take long for us to kind of keep clicking in, because a lot of the players we've got now will be tactically okay to play a foreign style of play and will be tactically aware to play under Guardiola, whereas before we had Cleverly, Fletcher, who really were not good enough and got away with it for a very long time because of the manager. If we did have a change with Guardiola, I think it would be positive, because we wouldn't need a mass turnaround of players, and he would be able to adapt very quickly as well, because these players can't play a possession game what LVG is playing already.
Definitely.
We as fans have to just take... We've been used to a one style of play for a very long time. A lot of people have not seen anything else but Man United play with wingers, 2 up top, and a very attractive style of play. But if what we're going through now is a change. This is what we're going to have to get used to. He plays a lot different to what Ferguson was. Moyes, again, we tried to carry that thing across what Sir Alex did, but it didn't work.
I
we
agree.
have to stick with him. We have to back him. We'll assess it at the end of the season, and then make a decision. But one key point is, if we do change manager, it won't be as much of a big change as it was before, because a lot of these players are foreign players that can play tactically in different positions. We've not had that before. That's why it took us 2 years to turn the squad round.
Foundations certainly seem to be getting built by LVG, as you say. I completely agree with that. Joggy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Some really brilliant points made.
Yeah, brilliant points.
If I could just get in one line, I just want a score prediction from you for Villa Friday night. Just give us a score. What do you reckon?
2-0.
2-0. I love
Solid
it.
positivity,
Joggy, please do join us again. It's been a pleasure having you on the Fan Takeover.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
guys.
No worries, mate. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
That was Joggy, who joined us during the Fan Takeover. Absolutely superb opinion.
Brilliant points there, yeah.
Very passionate fan, you can hear it, and some brilliant points made. I agree with a lot of what he's saying, and he agreed with a lot of what we said during the United chat.
He was echoing my thoughts, mate.
Completely.
I have to agree with totally everything he was saying.
Completely. Let's hear from some of the other fans then that we had on Twitter this week, Nick.
Yeah.
We asked first of all for fans to give us their one-line review of the Spurs game. There's a couple of ones in here that I rather enjoyed.
Yeah, we've got some more regular friends on here. Obviously, Chris Clay, 1978. We all know him. Unspectacularly solid.
Yep, agree with that. We've also got at Dasky United. Did we win? It felt like a loss. Bit negative, but I
still agree with him there. Yeah,
I can see where he's got that from.
And
this
finally,
is my favourite.
What's this one? Big C75, new kit, new signings, but nothing's changed.
Yep.
I think
that sums it up, really, doesn't it?
The big throw around the new kit, all the players showing it off, be the difference, and we weren't any different.
I know, it was poor. Such a deflating letdown.
Yeah.
Such a deflating letdown at the start of a season. But, as we've said before, 3 points the most important thing there. Let's quickly move on to the big one. This was a good debate, and I want us to just have a quick mention of this as well. Do United need any more signings or just a change in style of play? Now, Tim Jones kicked this off. He said both. I'd love to see more wing play, like under Sir Alex. I know you could say those days are gone, but they don't have to be. With Depay and probably Pedro, you have the potential to see entertaining, fast-flowing football once again. I think you can do, but I think a lot of that still is dependent on Van Gaal's style of play.
Yeah, I think the team that we've got, even without Pedro or any other signings at the moment, I still think we've got a very good side.
Yeah.
Better than a lot of the teams in the division. I think we do need a few players here and there, but the main problem we've got at the moment is how rigid it is, like you've been saying throughout the whole show. And Cogsy666 says, I still say both, weak in defence and attack. Need to change the style, yep. And as we aren't creating enough chances, I think that's the biggest issue we've had.
Yep.
LVG needs to let the creative players do their thing and stop stifling them.
Definitely. I mean, this is what it boils down to. I think there's a combination of the two. You can see frustration. The signings still need to be made, and we're going to give updates during the transfer talk on the likes of Pedro, Otamendi, and many others that are still being linked and still not happening.
Talk about it for months, haven't we?
Exactly. But we will give those a mention, give a couple of updates on that. But I think it's clear to see that although the new players are needed, we need those new players to be given some sort of licence, especially if they're attacking players. I made the point this week earlier on Twitter, it's all right having the pace in the side, but it has to be about the intent and the pace of the play more than the pace of the players.
Yeah, I think Van Gaal is struggling to find the balance. He's been struggling to find the balance for last season since he came. He's struggling to find the balance between defence and attack. And when we don't have the ball, that seems to be the biggest issue because he doesn't know what players to defend, what players to leave up the pitch, and there seems to be a lot of confusion there. Obviously, we've mentioned about Rooney being a lot more on a leash at the moment. But what I noticed again with the Spurs game, and I've noticed in previous seasons, when we've not got the ball, we don't know who's defending. We know obviously Ashley Young tactically he's got to defend. Obviously, all our defenders are good, but with the midfield that we've got now, with the likes of Carrick, Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, Herrera. We should have two holding midfielders there who can hold and sit back and let Herrera do his thing in midfield. Absolutely.
Let's just move on to the score predictions then for the Villa game, because we're going to talk a little bit more about this, I believe, in the shootout with Joe. So we're going to just get the score predictions in for now, and then we're going to do a full Villa review during the shootout. So what have we got in terms of scores?
Tim Jones, he says 3-1 to United, very positive.
Like it. Cogsy666 for the second week in a row. Go still not confident, so I'm going 1-1 again.
Well, that's a bit harsh, but it's only Villa, isn't it?
And at C Clay, 1978 United, Chris Clay goes positive as always. He certainly is 3-0 United.
I just think you got to think Villa, they've lost potentially their two best players in Delph and Benteke. You'd like to think we go there, we have a go at them, we'll turn them over.
You'd hope so. Now, we're creating a bit of a score predictor league out of this, which I'm going to publish next week. So
just our predictions.
We need to throw ours into the hat here as well. The way it's going to work is if you get the result right, you get 1 point. If you get the score right, you get 3 points. So let's have some predictions by ourselves to end this feature with before we move on to the shootout. Nick, what are you going?
Let's throw me on the spot here. Let me think. I'm probably going to go 3-1 United.
Okay. Joe, are you still mic'd up?
Yeah, I'm back, I believe.
What are you going for?
Last week I went 2-1. I'm going to stick with 2-1. I'm going to stick 2-1 United.
Sure, I'm going to agree with you. I purposely disagreed with both of you and went after the 3 points last week, but I think we'll sneak it 2-1 as well. Let us know your score predictions before tomorrow night's big kickoff. Of course, the Friday night football to get involved in the Score Predictor League. And next up, we're going to have a bit of a review on Villa. Some more of the big questions. Joe's going to fire us all of those next, and that's coming up in the shootout. So here we are then, back together, and that means the shootout has returned. And that means Joe is back loaded with some of the big questions regarding United.
I've not gone anywhere today. I've been in everything.
You have. You've been all over the show. So I believe you've prepared the usual 4 questions. And then we have one for you because, first time in 4 weeks, Can't be a shootout without 5.
Oh, I just had to get it in there, didn't
I've
you?
waited a long time for that.
You didn't get to say it next week on your express lane, did you?
No words.
No words spoken. So, Joe, you've got 4 questions then, so fire away. Let's see what we've got.
So the first one's for you, Andy. I'll throw it straight back to you. It's what should United be wary of against Aston Villa?
So it depends how Villa's set up, but I believe after Gusted scored against Bournemouth, he'll probably start against us. He scored more headed goals than anyone else, I believe, in the last 2 seasons of the 4 top leagues. That would be a worry for me, because if we play Daley Blind as a centre-back again, Gusted will plop himself on Blind, and that will cause chaos from set pieces. If not, then the likes of Agbonlahor, if Jordan Ayew starts, the likes of their pace, if we're pressing high up the pitch, could come back to haunt us.
Spot on.
What
So
about Jack Grealish?
I don't think he's fit to play.
Is he not?
No.
He's still got a hangover, hasn't
He has, yeah. Still recovering. But yeah, there's no Grealish, and I believe that Heel's missing as well, is what I've been reading this week.
I personally, this might come back to haunt me, but I'm not worried about the Villa game.
I think there's still things to be wary of, though.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
obviously
think
any
Villa-
Premier League team has stuff to be wary of, but they've lost the 2 best players.
I think Villa are still a top 10 side.
Do you?
That's a big call.
That's a huge call.
I think they might creep in probably number 10, but I think
if this comes back and Villa finish top 10,
I
this
think
will bank.
personally, in my opinion, they're the dark horses to go down.
well, I think
They've been hovering around it for years.
Yeah, but you look at, I mean, everyone said this about Southampton last year, didn't they? So I mean, you can't. They had an all right game for the first game of the season, but I don't think you can write them off as a top 10 side straight away. I think
The thing is, they've lost their midfield dynamo in Fabian Delph. They've lost Benteke.
Dynamo's a stretch.
It was their dynamo. I'm not saying
All
it was
right,
our
yeah,
dynamo.
all right, maybe theirs.
Yeah. So they've lost their midfielder in
Yeah.
Fabian Delph.
Yeah, yeah.
They've lost Benteke. So that's an integral part of their team gone, and they've replaced it with unproven Premier League talent.
I don't know how much you've seen of Rudy Gusted, but he looks
Blackburn
a real
striker.
former
Yeah.
Blackburn striker. He looks a good aerial talent.
Oh, yeah,
I think
obviously,
there's going to be some shocks this year in the table, as last year. I think you'll see people like Sunderland in top 10. I think
Sunderland are gone.
I think Villa are gone.
I said,
think-
yeah,
no,
Villa
no.
dark horses. They've been hovering around it for too long.
I think
Stoke
we're
will
gonna
probably be up in top 10. They'll
I think they will.
Yeah.
Stoke looks solid, yeah.
Stoke look very
Maybe
good.
Sunderland
Yeah.
was a bit of an extreme one, maybe.
But I see Villa as one of those teams that will be struggling, will be fighting to stay up this season. That's just my opinion. But I still think there's plenty to be concerned about in terms of the way United have been setting up. If we are going to high press and they play with pace, Jordan Ayew, who's just come in, and Gabby Agbonlahor have plenty of pace, and Agbonlahor does enjoy a goal against
the
us.
key area will be set pieces. You did raise a point about Gusted scoring the most goals. I think he played in the Championship, wasn't he, with Blackburn?
With Blackburn last season, yeah.
I don't know. I think they'll be looking to set pieces, but I think if you look at it logically, the United players are going into this game. I think we're going to take these.
And I don't know if that'll come back to haunt us because
Probably will now. I'll be sat here next week and we got beat 1-0.
Because the problem is, as we've discussed on the show before, against the bigger teams, that has no longer been our issue since LVG
it's the
came
smaller
in.
teams now.
It's the smaller teams that are causing us more problems.
Yeah, but is that because he didn't know them? I mean, everyone knows the big 4 top teams in the English league. It's the biggest league in the world still.
Whether it's the learning curve or whether it's the player's attitude, I'm not sure.
Or naivety from Van Gaal.
Could be.
Mixture of
Has he
both.
learnt from last season? We don't know yet.
Well, Nick, that brings us to our next question. So, will United be playing for top 4 Champions League football?
I'd be very surprised if we missed out on it this year, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I've not been entirely convinced with Liverpool's replacements. I don't think they've invested better than us. You look at Milner, very good player. Firmino, unproven. I just think overall we've got a better squad than them, and they're going to be our main rivals for the top 4 place. And you look at Spurs, I think it's going to be the same old. Chelsea, Arsenal, United, City.
So to be clear, yes, is that all we're playing for?
I don't think that's all we're playing for. I think if we do get a signing or two in, then we can definitely challenge for the title. I don't think that's beyond us. But top 4 will and still is remain a priority for United whilst we have the Adidas deal, because if we don't finish top 4, top 3, yeah, any improvement I'd take at the moment. But like I said, I think we're genuinely 2 top draw players short of a Premier League title challenge. I think if we get a top draw centre back and a top draw striker, even though it is very rare in the market at the moment, I think we would challenge and we would be very successful.
I think the team we've got should be good enough for top 4.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I know Liverpool have strengthened, but we have a good enough team if we play
I'm
right.
not convinced by who they've invested with. Like they were talking about Firmino being the next big thing, and blah, 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 going at how good Coutinho is. And yeah, he's a good player, but you can't go around scoring 35, 40-yard screamers every single match, and that's the only goals he seems to score. The wheels will come off eventually.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, we have to be aiming. Champions League is an absolute must for United. It's
That's
a
the
necessity.
first and foremost goal.
It's
Everything
the
else
minimum requirement right now.
If we don't finish top 4 with that squad that he has, there's something wrong.
I mean, do you see us finishing top 4, Joe?
I think there's a bit more steam in the train. I think there's, it can't just be top 4. It's got to be an improvement on last year, because you've signed you spent 300 million since Van Gaal's come in, and you can't just settle for top 4.
I think just
it's a scary amount of
solely
money.
looking at our midfield reinforcements, that is possibly one of the best midfielders in the league that we have assembled with Schweinsteiger, Schneidlin, Carrick, Herrera. If we don't finish top 4 with that midfield, then there's something going wrong.
I agree.
I think the problem we've had is the players going out as well as coming in. I mean, you look at selling Di Maria, selling Van Persie. Was it worth? I mean, again, you can't give Di Maria off his attitude a game of football for United, but was that our fault? Should we be doing more to encourage Di Maria to stay?
I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter.
Most expensive player in
Di Maria.
Europe now, Di Maria.
Yeah, I saw a lot of stuff about him. And I saw a lot of stuff about the number 7 that he had, saying that he wasn't worthy of it. We should wait to give it to the next person. I think that's a lot of crap.
Well, that number 7's been thrown around over the last couple of years.
I think it's
Valencia,
a load of rubbish. At the end of the day, it's a number. It's the player that makes it, not the number. So if Depay wanted it, which apparently he asked personally to have
He
it.
did, yeah. Good
I'd
attitude.
more than give it him. I wouldn't hold it back.
I've no issue giving it to him, but I know what you're saying. The player does make the shirt iconic, but the shirt is now iconic in its own right at United.
Totally, yeah.
And what Di Maria did has totally tarnished that. And when you look at Valencia and Owen getting it, you think, compared to some of the greats...
Do you really think Valencia asked for it, though?
No, he didn't. And he asked
he was
to
quick
have
to
it
give
taken.
it up as well,
Yeah, he
didn't
asked to have it taken back off him, did he?
wanted it, to be perfectly honest.
No, I don't think he did.
It's an unnecessary burden to put on basically a squad player. So
yeah, but I think Memphis fully deserves it. I think it was one of those that we possibly should have been cautious with, but with Memphis actually stepping up to the plate and saying, I want that shirt, that is exactly the attitude that you want.
Yeah, it's a lot of courage.
So moving on to that, he's been playing in the number 10 role. This is for you, Andy.
Good link, I like that.
Yeah,
well played, Joe. Yeah, well played.
He's not had number 7.
far too good for this show.
That is.
So, who is United's number 10 if LVG continues with this combination of football?
So, as we've discussed during the show, Memphis is not the number 10 for us. He should be out on the left. I think Mata needs to be given an opportunity as the number 10, as we've said. I think he would be the player that could unlock defences. Yes, he hasn't got the most pace, but he's got a creative eye. And as we were saying earlier with Joggy, he's got an eye for goal. The number of goals he got being played out of position was phenomenal. He's got a lot to offer to the side, so I would have him. And if we sign a new striker, you could even play Rooney in that position as well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I don't understand why, if we're thinking like this, why isn't Van Gaal, a man with so much experience?
Maybe he's seen something different in training. We're not.
Obviously, we're not there 5 days a week to see these plays. But from our perspective, a front four of Rooney at top, Mata behind Rooney, Pedro and Depay either side, you'd have to say that's pretty clinical.
Do you think we're just struggling to get things going in games? Do you think we're just not turning it on? Do you think maybe?
I think it's the speed that we play at. We play at I've said it before. We play at a European speed in a Premier League match.
That's what I was saying. It's not so much about the pace of the plays; it's the intensity that we play at. The build-up play is so slow.
We just let teams just do what they want, sit back. We don't.
And everything's played in front of the back four of the opposition. It's so predictable. A lot of it's telegraphed, and that's why it's boring football to watch from the most part. So I know we're not there the 5 days a week to watch players in training or whatever, but we are there watching them on game day, whether that's pre-season that we've seen a little bit of Memphis or the first day against Spurs. It's probably too early to judge on this, but from what we've seen briefly of Memphis in that position, pre-season tour and against Spurs, it doesn't seem natural for him.
Maybe I'm just picking at straws, trying to find excuses for LVG, but it's got to be. There's got to be something that you're seeing in that squad.
When we signed Memphis, I thought he was a replacement for Young, personally. I thought he was going to be playing on left wing.
I think Young thought that.
Yeah. And when I saw him in the number 10 role, I thought I'd never seen him there. I'd give him a chance. But
I said before the season started on this podcast that maybe we'll see Memphis up front, and he's dropped slightly behind that, but I think that he's a strong enough player to handle that role.
He could play it, but I just think he's
wasted there. I think he's a winger first and foremost, he is a winger.
Give it time, it might work out.
There's no wing play happening at the moment. The wing plays are all coming from. Darmian played a lot of wing play, didn't he?
But we all know about Memphis's set play, prowess.
I was surprised to see Mata taking the free kick.
I thought Memphis would have told him where to go.
Such a disappointment.
I know it was. Sky over. And
there
anticlimax.
was one piece of magic I remember watching a match where Memphis got the ball on the right hand side and he cut in and he did a few little inside passes with Mata and he was on the edge of the penalty area. And that's the sort of stuff he can do from a wing position.
You look at Memphis set up. Well, Young did a lot of the work to set up the goal that eventually started with Rooney, but he made the run for him and it made it possible. So
I just think if we're saying that there isn't a lot of wing play, I think that's because of the players out there. So if you stick Memphis out there, like you say, Nick's pointed out there, a couple of times he did drift out wide. He played that inside ball. He came in on the inside. The centre back's not marking him. He doesn't know whether the right back's following him in. I just think it causes a lot more confusion, and there's a lot could be done from there.
Well, touching on defence, here's another one for you.
He's linking better than Mata at number 10, isn't he?
He's well rested, isn't he?
Had a good pre-season. Nick, this one's for you. Will De Gea play for United again?
In my opinion, I think he'll stay. I don't think he wants to stay, but I think I've got to question United's approach to it because I don't think Madrid are determined to sign him as much as United thought they were. I think it's backfired a little bit on that. I think United thought eventually Madrid would pay the €35 million pay that apparently United want. It's not happened. I fully expect him to finally get out of this. I'm not in the frame of mind to play yet. That Van Gaal's been labelled on him, and I think he will play again for United this season. He'll probably get to go on a free next summer.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I agree with that.
It's a shame to see such a top class player go on a free, but I think it's time for United to. Like you've mentioned it, we started it with Ronaldo. It's time we stopped it. This stupid bargaining that's going on in the transfer window at the moment.
If you break it down for what it is, we can keep a world-class goalkeeper for another year or sell him for a pittance. It's not worth selling him for the crap that they're offering. So we might as well just keep him.
Yeah, he's if he gets his head right, then of course by a distance he's our number one keeper. Yeah. Regardless of what you say about Valdez and whether he actually stays or not, De Gea is without doubt the number one man between the sticks.
Comments I saw this week about Valdez though. He said that I'm a very difficult person to live and work with. So I don't know if that was a hint of an apology towards LVG publicly. I wonder if they've patched things up because still no movement on him. I would have expected him to be gone by now.
I know. So we think De Gea is probably staying. It looks that way.
Yeah.
It looks like he'll grind it out. Do we think that with Valdez?
Those comments have just thrown me a bit. I thought he was definitely going to go. He probably will go, but it's just to come out publicly and say that you're a very difficult person to work with after having a bust up with your manager. It just seems like there's something that's gone on behind closed doors. Maybe they've patched it up. I don't know. So
something I just want to ask you on, Joe, just whilst we're on the topic of the goalkeeping situation. The whole thing, you were at the game, of course, against Spurs. I don't know if you saw the images of David De Gea, Anders Lindegaard and Victor Valdez sat in the director's box.
I saw them all having a nice little session watching, just commenting on Pedro's goalkeeping and, not Pedro.
Romero.
Romero.
We're getting excited
there's too many things going on there.
No, but
what I wanted to ask you from that is to see Valdez, of course, who's had a bit of a public fallout with Van Gaal, to see De Gea sat up there in public having to sit and watch the game and being left out of the squad.
I think it's totally right of LVG to do it.
That's answered my question because I'm of the opinion that LVG was right there to do that, and I think it shows that United, under Van Gaal at least, are starting to get back to the way they were.
It's time to stop letting agents and players dictate what goes on at the club, and I think that with the interview after the game where he said, well, if his head's not in the right place, then he's not going to be playing. And that was that statement. I think that speaks a lot for the club, and I think that's what it should be.
I personally loved it because I don't care what anyone says about United at the moment. We're still in the ballpark with De Gea. If we don't want to sell him, we still have him for another year. We can make him play in reserves all year.
You made a point to me earlier, Joe, about the Champions League against Club Brugge next Tuesday.
I'm leaving this for my 30 seconds.
All right, okay.
This is Joe's 30 seconds of brilliance. Just let him do it.
We'll give you 30 seconds on this, Joe. I'm going to fire this one back so we can complete the shootout, of course. I'm going to ask you the same question that you just fired at us. Will David De Gea play for United again?
Yes, I will see him on Tuesday night. I'll be sat there watching De Gea between the sticks, and for one reason only, and that's because he'll be cup-tied for United again, and Real Madrid will have no control. He either plays the game or he won't get paid, so that's obviously not a choice for him. I think it's time that, again, United, I think it's time for us to take control of the situation. If he's cup side, there's no reason Real Madrid are going to want him. He's going to be one of their biggest players if they sign him. So you don't sign a player and you don't pay for a player to leave him on the bench for Champions League football.
Yeah,
he was rocking on his seat when he threw that out. They're cup tied.
He couldn't wait for that point.
not wait,
excited all night about
so
that.
excited.
Like a kid at Christmas.
But it's an interesting point raised though, Joe. You know, if we were
I've
to
seen
play
this.
him,
I've seen a lot of people have been speaking about this. I mean, it's formed of many opinions, but I think it's a good point that's been brought up. I think it's something we've missed out on. I think a lot of people haven't seen it, but I think it's one of the most pivotal things that we can do if he does play for us on Tuesday night.
How will the fans react to him? Do you reckon?
I think well.
The
think well.
The Sergio Romero calls were in the David De Gea song. I mean, I don't know. I think people are ready to move on from De Gea. I think people have accepted that De Gea is going. I don't think
it was accepted so long ago, wasn't it?
I think it was quite jovial, the Sergio Romero chance. But I mean, he's going to do a job for a year if De Gea goes. Like I think you've said that he's there to do a job and he can do it. He's proved what he can do. For someone who's not spent a lot of time at the club, who can put a performance like that up against Spurs, it's not a. It's a good attacking side.
Here's the thing as well, though, about the De Gea reception if he does play. We're not Real Madrid fans.
No. There won't be any boos.
You might hear one or two from the Galacticos inside some alleged United fans that aren't actually United fans, but we're just there from
the training ground as
well.
well.
I think you will get the couple, but I think, you know, from the large part, United fans will respect his decision. They've already accepted that he will be going at some point.
I think as soon as De Gea stands in front of that Stretford end, there's going to be chants everywhere. People want him to stay. We're not saying that. I mean, look at Ronaldo. Nobody's bitter against him, are they? Some top players. Top players that have gone to top clubs. And at the moment, we've argued if we're a top club. So do we blame him?
Yeah, exactly. And let's, whilst we're on the subject of Club Brugge, just quickly with De Gea, we think draw. Playing against it's a great draw.
Literally the best draw we could have had.
I
was sat there thinking Lazio away, Monaco away. I was just thinking the worst Leverkusen. I was thinking all sorts of stuff.
So surely, even with the early season pessimism that we're seeing, United are going to be playing Champions League football this season, right?
If we don't beat Club Brugge, there's something. I heard that the Club Brugge fans are already camping out for the tickets.
Fantastic.
That's how much they want to play United. It's a big day out for them. You know, fair play to them. But if we don't beat them and go through, there's major problems.
I mean, I think it's important to get a solid lead on the go on Tuesday night. I mean, it's lucky because we've fallen on a Friday night fixture to a Tuesday, so we've got plenty of time to train.
We need a couple goals. 3, I'm talking 3, maybe 4-0, just so when we go over there, we can take the youngsters.
Maybe if we do, perform well and get a couple of goals and play a bit more free football against a lesser side, compared to what we could have been facing, maybe Van Gaal will realise that we should be allowing our forward players to express themselves a little bit.
I think a lot of confidence is missing from the squad, and I'd like to see it come back. You don't see the confidence going forward as we used to. There's not as many committed players up front.
Yeah,
I personally like Schweinsteiger to start that game. It would be a nice European game.
He probably won't start against Villa, so that makes sense.
I think his experience would come in. Like when he came on against obviously Spurs, I said before, he was telling people where to go. He was telling where to pass. The leadership qualities really shone through.
Definitely. Well, there you go. Please get in touch with your opinions on any of the questions raised during tonight's shootout. We'll put them up on the YouTube video so you can answer there. And also can get in touch with us at WeFollowUnited on Twitter. Next up should be Dodgy Dave, but with the rumours that De Gea might still be leaving, is our very own Dodgy Dave leaving? We're not sure, but he's not on this week. So next up, it's Transfer Talk. Breaking news, Dodgy Dave is in hiding as Benzema still won't sign for Arsenal. Transfer Talk dedicated coming up. We've only got a couple more weeks of this, so we might as well make the most of it. It feels a little bit like deja vu to me looking down at this, Nick. Let's start with an update on Pedro from Barcelona. Where are we up to on him?
Okay, well, obviously the Pedro thing's been alive for the last 10 days, maybe 10, 14 days. He looks unhappy. We've seen it, the reports that he wants to leave. Apparently one of the chief execs of Barcelona mentioned that he wants to go. We saw Barcelona celebrating the trophy they won the other night, and he was onto the right-hand side. He didn't really look that bothered.
Incredible as well, after the game as well, and to win it. I know it's only the
Scored
Super
a winning
Cup,
goal, but still.
and there was no celebration, just stood alone to one side by himself. Said a lot, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it's happening. I think he's leaving, but could he be going to Manchester City?
This is one I wanted to ask you about, because they've suddenly come in out of nowhere. Because, as I remember rightly, at the start of the summer, it was Chelsea who were the big link to Pedro. That faded away. We took control, and now City suddenly
I think the
are in
City
the mix.
link's rubbish. I think City's number one target will be Kevin De Bruyne. They've signed Sterling. They've got Navas. They've got Nasri who can operate on the wings. Silva who can operate on the wings. They've got a few young players that they want to promote. Ignacio, that young striker they've got. I can't imagine they're in for him personally.
Do you just think this speculation is a case of forcing United's hands to make a move?
That's solely what it's for. It's basically Barcelona don't want to accept any more than a €30 million. United are haggling for some unforeseen reason. I don't understand why they're haggling over it. It's 21 million at the end of the day. It's a bargain in terms of the modern market. Just get him in and pay the money.
Yeah, I mean, we had this brief discussion on Twitter early in the week, didn't we? I believe, if I remember rightly, it was with Big C75. Said something's not right about the way United are haggling over these transfers this summer.
He's correct. It's not right. People are going on about how much money we're making and, we're a money-making machine. Then why aren't we just paying the money for him? He's 28 years old. He's got 3 or 4 seasons in him. It's 21 million.
So still looks likely, but United perhaps being forced to show their hand on this one.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another one that's been hijacked, possibly again, just to make United make a move. Nicholas Otamendi, yes.
Well, obviously the Ramos deal is looking dead in the water now. There's reports all over Spain that he's finally agreed a contract extension. I still maintain he was probably interested in coming, but it's probably more for the money than it was for the football. He'll more than happy stay in Madrid if they pay the money. It looks like they are. Perez is finally backed down due to the fans' backlash. They are going to pay the money. So we're backing for Otamendi. And it's looking like City might be in for him as well. There's numerous reports all over Spain at the moment that they want to sign him. Apparently they've offered a few million more than United. Read into that what you may, but it looks like he's leaving Valencia because they've got a deal apparently lined up for Garay from Zenit. So
I just wonder, with Otamendi having a release clause in place, why has this deal not been done by United already if it was going to be?
I don't think Van Gaal is as interested as people make out.
So do you just think it was a case of sort of almost waiting on what happened with Ramos and he
I
was
think
the backup?
that was solely it, yeah. I think LVG, if there's any sort of chance he could got Ramos, that's what he was waiting for.
And let me just ask you this as well, Nick. We all know LVG has this thing now about the left-footed and right-footed combination centre-back, which has come out of nowhere, but this is his thing now.
Rubbish, yeah.
If that's the case that remains true, would it be the case that if Otamendi came in, we'd drop Smalling?
I don't know, because the thing with this right and left back, centre back, and having the right balance.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Some of our most successful partnerships have been 2 right footers. You look at Vidic and Rio, for example. They were both right footed, but they were both so good in their positions, it wasn't an issue.
So you'd hope then Van Gaal, if he did sign that player,
he wouldn't drop Smalling.
You don't think he would?
No, he's just signed a contract extension. He's been given the captain's armband numerous times. He's an integral part of LVG's plans now, I think.
And is that a reason why perhaps we're stalling on it, because LVG's confused over what he wants at centre-back?
I think that's it. I said it earlier on the show, I'd like to give Rocco and Smalling a run, a real proper run, 10-15 games, to see how they do in the Premier League. I think there's potential there for them two to be really good.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, let's go for Kane. Of course, came to Old Trafford on Saturday. Faded out of the game, disappeared out of it.
He had one moment of class. You've got to give him that.
He did.
Yeah.
But do you think that was down to reports that he might be coming to United again that have resurfaced?
Yeah, well, obviously, by history, they're really, really hard to negotiate with Spurs. Like Everton, you never get a cheap player. But he did stay behind after the game. He was the only Tottenham player to do it, signing autographs. He stayed for about half an hour, apparently, signing them. So he's well liked by the United crowd already. And
you have a theory on how we could potentially get to Tottenham to get him?
I like to dream these little things up. I've got a vivid imagination. Obviously, there's rumours they want a striker. Obviously, they don't want to lose one. But if we were to offer them the money plus a certain striker that I don't want, could potentially get him in, maybe.
Someone like Hernandez.
Yeah, 35 million plus Hernandez. Will that tempt Levy's hand?
I think it'd have to, because news was breaking, as far as I'm aware. I don't know if this is confirmed or not yet, that Soldado's out on his way out of the club.
Yeah, someone said he was in the airport and he was speaking to some fan. He said he's off to Villarreal. Now,
Adebayor is way out of favour there as well.
Yeah, Soldado gone. That leaves him Kane as the only striker.
Now, there has also been news coming in, and I think this is also confirmed. I can't remember the name of the lad, but The striker, I believe from Lyon, not
Oh,
Lacazette.
NG.
That's him.
Yeah, Clinton NG. I think
he's gone to Tottenham.
Has he gone?
Apparently. It was breaking this afternoon, so I don't know again if this is confirmed yet.
Right.
But that was heavily being talked about earlier on, so I think they might potentially have him. I still think, though, if you've got in Hernandez as well as their impact player, that's still only leaving with 3, maybe 4 strikers, which would probably work for Pochettino.
But 35 million plus Hernandez, that 35 million could be well invested in another striker.
Someone like...
I don't know, i.e. Austin, maybe, possibly.
And you
Berahino, you know.
I was waiting for it. I was wondering if you were going to leave Berahino out, but you still think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. It feels like total deja vu, as I say. It's just a case of the same rumours being churned up every week. Still no action happening.
Hugo Lloris. Yeah.
A matter of weeks remain before the transfer window slams shut. Will United get the deals done that they need to? We'll find out over the coming weeks, and we'll be with you throughout it to discuss it. If you have anything to discuss with us that have been on tonight's podcast, please do get involved. Either comment below on the YouTube video, contact us at WeFollowUnited. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you all back. Thanks ever so much for listening and for your support. We're back and we're ready and raring to go for the season. Let's hope it's a good one. See you next week.